November 8th, 2019. A 20-year-old gymnast named Melanie Coleman was practicing on the uneven bars at New Era Gymnastics. What started as a routine workout would end in tragedy, sending shockwaves through the entire gymnastics community.
Developing news tonight at 6, a local gymnast killed in a terrible accident.
She loved gymnastics her entire life. You can't blame gymnastics.
Melanie Coleman was a junior at Southern Connecticut State University. The 20-year-old suffered a spinal injury during practice and died 2 days later.
By the end of that weekend, a close-knit community is left reeling, and a family loses their brightest star. These are 5 most terrifying gymnastic deaths.
Melanie Coleman was a junior at Southern Connecticut State University. The 20-year-old suffered a spinal injury during practice and died 2 days later.
It started as a regular practice session, a routine day at the gym for Melanie Coleman. But in a split second, everything changed. The uneven bars, a familiar apparatus for this experienced gymnast, became the scene of a tragic accident that would end her promising life. Coleman, a 20-year-old junior at Southern Connecticut State University, was in top form. She was a nursing major, a Scholastic All-American, and a mentor to younger gymnasts at New Era Gymnastics. Her future looked bright, both in athletics and academics. But on November 8th, during what should have been another ordinary training session, something went terribly wrong. Melanie approached the uneven bars with her usual confidence. She'd performed these routines countless times before, but as she executed her sequence, she slipped. A momentary loss of grip that would prove catastrophic. The fall resulted in a severe spinal cord injury, leaving her motionless on the mat. Emergency services were called immediately. The gym staff acted quickly, stabilizing her as best they could while waiting for paramedics to arrive. She was rushed to Yale New Haven Hospital, her life hanging in the balance. For 2 excruciating days, her family and friends held a vigil, hoping for a miracle that would never come.
Melanie just slipped off the bar. It was just a total accident and even just totally tragic. She loved gymnastics her entire life. You can't blame gymnastics.
Coach Thomas Alberti, who had trained Melanie for nearly a decade, described it as a total accident. There was no blame, no faulty equipment, no negligence, just a tragic moment that could happen to even the most skilled athlete. "She loved gymnastics her entire life," he said, his voice breaking. "You can't blame gymnastics." His words echoed the sentiment shared by everyone who knew Melanie and understood the risks of high-level competition.
Every gymnast, and we have about 75 kids on team, and they all looked up to her as wanting to follow in her footsteps.
The news spread quickly through the gymnastics community. Melanie wasn't just another athlete. She was a rising star, a mentor, and a friend to many. Her accomplishments were impressive, reaching level 10 in the USA Junior Olympics program, captaining her high school team, and earning all-state honors. But it was her character that truly defined her.
People from all over Connecticut have been reaching out to me, and many of them knew Melanie because she was such a high-level gymnast. She was well known through the state of Connecticut.
Alberti says even with her college commitment, she was still part of her old gym family, coaching younger kids.
The impact of her death rippled far beyond her immediate circle. People from all over Connecticut reached out, sharing stories of how Melanie had touched their lives. She was well known throughout the state for her talent and kindness, making her loss feel personal to so many. University President Joe Bertolino called it a tragic loss, emphasizing the deep sorrow felt by the entire academic community. Her high school principal remembered how, despite her busy college schedule, Melanie always found time to mentor younger gymnasts. The Coleman family, deeply rooted in their community, received an outpouring of support from all corners.
She loved gymnastics her entire life. You can't blame gymnastics or the equipment or the coaching.
Coach Alberti was adamant that this was not the sport's fault. He stressed the importance of remembering Melanie for her joy and dedication, not just the tragic circumstances of her death. His words served as both a defense of gymnastics and a tribute to the spirit that Melanie embodied. The university responded quickly, providing grief counselors for students and staff. Support initiatives sprang up, such as GoFundMe campaigns, meal trains, and community outreach efforts to help the Coleman family through their darkest days. The gymnastics world rallied together, united by both grief and the understanding of what every athlete risks each time they step onto the mat.
In a statement, Southern's president says her coaches and professors describe Melanie as a special young woman who excelled in both the classroom and in the gym. Our deepest sympathies are extended to her family and friends on this tragic loss. The nursing major was also named a Scholastic All-American last year.
Melanie's legacy extends far beyond her athletic achievements. She was a dedicated student, following in her sister's footsteps to pursue nursing. Her academic excellence was matched only by her commitment to mentoring others. Even while balancing rigorous training and studies, she found time to give back to her community.
To remember Melanie is to remember her joy and how happy that the sport would make her, and how much she loved teaching the children and giving what she had to make others better.
Her final act of selflessness, organ donation, would save lives even as hers ended. In the face of unimaginable tragedy, Melanie and her family found a way to bring hope to others. It's a testament to the kind of person she was, always thinking of others before herself. The death of Melanie Coleman wasn't just a loss for her family and friends. It was a reminder of the risks inherent in competitive gymnastics, no matter how skilled or experienced the athlete. As we remember Melanie Coleman, we honor not just the athlete, but the mentor, the student, and the friend. Her spirit continues to inspire young gymnasts everywhere, reminding them of both the beauty and the dangers of their sport. The legacy she leaves behind is one of dedication, compassion, and resilience, a true champion in every sense of the word. Melanie Coleman's departure was heartbreaking, yet the next story is even more haunting. A gymnast whose struggle with body image and pressure from the sport led to a devastating end.
An American gymnast who barely missed going to the Olympics has died after a battle with anorexia nervosa and bulimia. Christy Henrich, who was from Kansas City, Missouri, was 22 years old. She nearly qualified for the 1988 Olympic team, but missed by a fraction of a point. After performing in the 1989 World Championships, Henrich had to pull out of a tournament the following year because she had grown so weak. She retired from gymnastics 3 years ago.
It started with a judge's comment and ended with a tragedy that still haunts the world of gymnastics to this day. Christy Henrich was an Olympic hopeful, training through pain and sacrifice for years. But on July 26, 1994, her battle with anorexia and bulimia ended in death at just 22, weighing only 47 pounds. The pressure that surrounded her was relentless. Every practice was a test of mental and physical limits. Every competition carried the weight of perfection. Christy's drive, once her greatest strength, became a deadly obsession.
In 1988, Christy was a potential Olympian at the top of her sport.
She was a gymnast who had all the talent, the discipline, the determination. She was the kind of athlete who could make an Olympic dream come true. But inside, the fight was taking a darker turn.
Her mother, Sandy, and Christy's former fiancé, Bo Marino, remember how their lives changed forever after a judge at a world-class event told Christy she needed to lose weight.
Christy wasn't just any gymnast. By 1988, she stood on the brink of Olympic greatness, missing the team by a razor-thin 0.1118 points. Her mother, Sandy, recalls the moment everything changed. When a judge at a world-class event told Christy she needed to lose weight, that single comment would ignite a spiral that destroyed a rising star. That moment at the airport, Christy's first words to her mother after returning from the competition were chilling.
I remember picking her up at the airport, and the first words out of her mouth when she got off the plane, I'm like, "Hi, Christy," and she said, "Mom, I have to lose weight." I went, "What?"
And that was the start of a spiral that would end in tragedy. The judge's words became a voice she couldn't silence.
She weighed 95 pounds at that point. I go, "What are you talking about?" She said, "A judge told me you're very fat, you will never make the Olympic team."
She weighed just 95 pounds at the time, But the message was clear. Thinner meant success. The pursuit of perfection became a prison.
There was an obsession with her, and you just saw it grow and grow and grow. It got to the point where she wouldn't even eat in front of me.
Christy's former fiance, Bo Marino, witnessed firsthand how her relationship with food deteriorated. What began as concern over her weight quickly became an all-consuming obsession. She stopped eating in front of others, isolating herself as the disorder took over her life.
She didn't want this eating disorder, and she would tell me it just got a hold of me and it won't let go. It was like she was drowning and I couldn't pull her out of the water.
She described it as being trapped, like drowning in something that wouldn't let go. 7 years of fighting, in and out of hospitals nearly a dozen times. The battle was relentless. Her battle against these two vicious diseases, anorexia and bulimia, became constant companions, robbing her of strength, health, and hope. The pressure to maintain an impossibly thin physique for competition drove her deeper into the darkness.
Christy Henrich, at her best, was about 95 pounds, and she felt like she could beat the world. At the end, her last time in the hospital, she weighed 47. Anorexia was something she just couldn't beat.
By the end, the toll was devastating. Multiple organ failure. The scales told a story of 47 pounds, a number that would haunt gymnastics forever. Her death became a turning point for the sport, a signal that something had to change. The price of perfection had been paid in full.
Few families have had to endure tragedies like the Henriches, but unfortunately, the expectations of parents and coaches can put young gymnasts at risk, leaving them with lifelong emotional and physical scars.
But the scars remain not just for her family, but for every young athlete who faces impossible standards. Christy's story is a warning about the dangers of perfection, the destructive power of pressure, and the need for change in how we treat our athletes. Her legacy isn't just about what was lost, but about what can be saved. The fight continues not just against eating disorders, but against a culture that values medals over lives. What happened to Christy Henrich is more than a tragedy. It's a call to action that can't be ignored, and it's a story that must never be forgotten. And in all these, it's important to remember that words truly have an effect on people and can go as far changing the course of people's life. Christy's story showed the dark side of gymnastics pressure and the cost of silence and perfection. The next gymnastics tragedy on our list is that of a gymnast whose career-ending injury turned into a tragedy that shocked the world of gymnastics.
Overall round, 6 bucks. Don't do a thing, double back. A little short on that. Always help.
June 21st, 1980. The Soviet gymnastics world had its eyes glued to Elena Mukhina. She was the prodigy who had single-handedly ended Nadia Comaneci's dominance. Her routines pushed the boundaries of women's gymnastics, adding moves that had, until then, only been seen in men's competitions. Mukhina seemed destined to become the star of the upcoming Moscow Olympics, but that dream would soon turn into a nightmare. Elena was born in Moscow in 1960 and lost both parents by age 5, growing up under her grandmother's care. She began gymnastics young, showing promise but not standing out until she joined the CSKA Moscow club. Everything changed in 1975 when she teamed up with Mikhail Klimenko, a men's coach who saw her potential and pushed her to new heights. Within 3 years, she became the most innovative force in women's gymnastics.
Задаешь себе мысль, а сможешь ли ты обеспечить страховку на случай неудачного исполнения? Разве можно эти вещи допускать? Нельзя, потому что это...
Mukhina's routines quickly became legendary. She unveiled the full twisting core butt on uneven bars, the round-off double back dismount on beam, and the pioneering full twisting double back on floor. By 1978, she not only won the World Championships all-around title, but did so while introducing moves that would become staples of the sport. Soviet officials began grooming her as the perfect hometown champion for the 1980 Olympics in Moscow.
Блестяще выступила Елена Мухина. For 5 years, Yelena Mukina had been one of the Soviet Union's star gymnasts. Few matched her elegance and style.
But the pressure was immense. Elena felt the weight of a nation's expectations and the relentless demands of the Soviet sports system. Her coach, Klemenko, believed in pushing through pain and injury. The Soviet training approach, as she would later describe it, focused on victory at all costs where risk was valued, and individual well-being was secondary to national prestige.
Yelena Mukina won 3 gold medals in the 1978 World Championships, but she doesn't thrill the crowds anymore. While training for the 1980 Olympics, she broke her neck.
Despite mounting injuries and fatigue, Elena continued to push herself. In late 1979, she broke her leg, missing the World Championships and causing the Soviet team to lose to Romania. Instead of allowing her proper recovery, officials hurried her return, removing casts prematurely and subjecting her to grueling weight loss workouts. She was pressured to add the dangerous Thomas salt, a move notorious for its risk of under-rotation and catastrophic injury, to her floor routine. Elena recognized the danger, telling coaches she feared she'd break her neck, but their response was cold. "People like you don't break their necks."
She was hailed as one of the greatest talents ever. When she was injured, what came out was a variety of skills that she's supposed to have been performing when the injury happened. But stories came out. Was it, did she do it on bars? Where did she do it? And eventually the truth came out. It was in a floor exercise. She was tired. Maybe that extra repetition, that extra demand from the coach caused it.
In the months leading to the Moscow Olympics, Elena's health deteriorated rapidly. She struggled to walk, suffered constant pain, and faced mounting psychological pressure. But the drive for gold kept her in the gym, practicing the Thomas Salto despite its obvious danger. Her warnings went unheeded. The system demanded victory over or silence. July 3, 1980, changed everything. Only 2 weeks before the Olympics, while practicing the Thomas Salto at the Minsk Palace of Sport, Elena under-rotated, landed on her chin, and instantly snapped her spine. She was immediately rendered quadriplegic, paralyzed from the neck down. The Soviet machine quickly moved to control the narrative. Official reports claimed she'd simply been injured and would miss the Olympics, downplaying the severity. But the truth couldn't be hidden forever. The gymnast, who had once flown through the air with revolutionary skill, was now confined to a hospital bed, unable to move. Elena's initial reaction to her injury revealed the immense pressure she had faced. As she lay on the floor, unable to move, her first thought wasn't of herself, but relief. "Thank God I won't be going to the Olympics." Despite everything, she blamed no one but herself, reflecting the culture of personal sacrifice embedded in Soviet sports. In the years following her accident, Elena became a recluse, rarely speaking publicly about her experience. In a rare interview, she criticized the system that valued medals over human life, stating, "A human life was worth little in comparison with the prestige of the nation." Despite her injury, Elena continued to inspire. She graduated from the Physical Culture Institute in 1984, with teachers coming to her bedside for lessons and exams. She became a guest columnist for Moscow News and maintained contact with former teammates. But her health continued to decline, and after years of complications, she passed away in December 2006 at age 46. Elena Mukina's legacy is complex. She revolutionized gymnastics, a victim of a system that demanded victory at any cost. Her story was one that changed sports forever. Her injury led to the ban of Thomas Salto in women's gymnastics and forced a reckoning with athlete safety. Even in her darkest moments, Elena remained a symbol of strength, courage, and the human cost of glory. Elena's accident showed how one risky move can change everything. Sadly, she wasn't the only young gymnast pushed beyond her limits. The next gymnast faced a similar fate, with equally heartbreaking consequences. May 5th, 1988. Tokyo World Sports Fair. At just 15 years old, Julissa Gomez stood at the end of the runway, wearing the Team USA leotard, poised for the vault that was supposed to solidify her Olympic dreams. For months, her coaches insisted she master the difficult Yurchenko vault, a move she struggled to perform consistently, often missing her step on the springboard during practice. But in elite gymnastics, hesitation is forbidden. You keep going, no matter what. Julissa had already qualified for the vault finals, calling her mother with the good news the night before. But fear crept in before that fateful day. She spoke repeatedly about Elena Mukhina, a Soviet gymnast who broke her neck attempting a dangerous skill and became paralyzed. That night, Julissa couldn't sleep alone. She stayed with teammate Sunya Knapp, again mentioning Mukhina's tragic fate. It was as if she knew something was coming. In the warm-ups, Julissa's technique, already known to be shaky on the Yurchenko, showed visible problems. She rebounded too high off the springboard, barely brushing her fingertips on the horse. But the pressure to compete, to score high, to prove herself, drove her forward. When her moment came, Julissa ran down the runway, executed her round-off, but her right foot slipped off the back of the springboard. The untrained eye might not have noticed, but for Julissa, every instinct screamed to abort. Still, as gymnasts are taught, she kept going. She arched back, head first, but had no lift. She crashed, forehead first, into the vaulting horse at full speed. Her neck snapped instantly, and the momentum carried her limp body over the vault, landing motionless on the mat. The immediate aftermath was chaotic. Coaches and medical staff rushed to her side as she drifted in and out of consciousness. She was rushed to a Tokyo hospital, paralyzed from the neck down. Tragically, a hospital mishap 2 weeks later, her ventilator was accidentally disconnected and left her in a permanent coma. Her parents brought her home to Houston, where they cared for her for 3 more years until her body finally succumbed to complications. Julissa Gomez's accident sent shockwaves through the gymnastics world. Her story became more than a tragedy. It triggered lasting changes in the sport. Coaches and athletes finally recognized the inherent dangers of pushing young gymnasts to perform skills they couldn't safely master. The International Gymnastics Federation responded by allowing U-shaped springboard mats during competitions, giving gymnasts a greater margin of error. By 2001, the dangerous horse vault was replaced with a larger, safer vaulting table. These changes, directly resulting from Julissa's accident, have undoubtedly saved countless lives and careers. Julissa became a martyr for safety. Her accident was barely mentioned in official gymnastics publications, and no tribute was held at any major meet. As one teammate's mother remarked,
"It was the Olympic year, and that was what was important. Nothing was said about her at all. Nothing."
And the voice you are listening to belongs to Mary Lou Retton. And we just saw Bella Carole congratulate Julissa. When he slaps around the back like that, doesn't it really hurt?
Yes, it does hurt. You're sometimes afraid to do good. You get that big bear slap from Bella.
And he's a big guy to be bear slapping little gymnasts.
For a generation of gymnasts, Julissa's name became synonymous with caution. Her accident was the ghost haunting every vault runway. Yet, as time passed, the fear that gripped young gymnasts slowly faded, replaced once more by ambition and the drive to win. Julissa's story stands as a stark reminder of the sport's dangers and the price of progress. Her legacy is written not just in safety regulations, but in the whispered warnings of coaches and the careful consideration given to pushing young athletes too far, too fast. Her death, at just 18 years old, remains one of gymnastics' darkest chapters. A young life sacrificed to the relentless pursuit of perfection. The sorrow in gymnastics didn't stop in Julissa's story. Coming up next is another young athlete who also lost her life in an accident that stunned the gymnastics world. March 12, 2013. The gymnasium at Taverham High School in Norfolk echoed with the sounds of a bustling PE class. 12-year-old Trevin Joslin, known for her bright smile and enthusiasm, stood by the pommel horse. It was a routine lesson, one she had performed before, a day that would tragically become her last. Trevin, from Thorpe Marriott near Norwich, was considered one of the better gymnasts in her class. Her PE teacher, Shirley Naseby, described her as confident, enthusiastic, and one of the better gymnasts in the class. That day, the students had rotated through 3 types of apparatus. In the final 15 minutes, they were allowed to choose which equipment to use. Trevin selected the pommel horse. She completed several successful jumps. On her final attempt, as she ran up perfectly coordinated, her right foot caught the front end of the horse. She toppled forward, landing face down on the crash mat, almost in the recovery position. Friends gathered around her while she tried to mouth words, but her speech was difficult to understand. Immediately, staff called an ambulance. Lynn Hammond, the school's pastoral care supervisor, administered CPR, desperately trying to revive the young student. She later recalled,
"I was struggling to accept the reality of the situation. You just want to believe a child is still breathing."
Trevin was first taken to the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital, then transferred to Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge. The incident quickly drew attention to a crucial detail. Trevin had a pre-existing neck condition, spinal osteomyelitis, diagnosed in 2001. Her GP had advised against contact sports, gymnastics, or trampolining. The school was aware of her medical condition, but due to an administrative oversight, a box wasn't ticked on her class list to flag her restrictions to all staff. Despite this, Health and Safety Executive Inspector Paul Unwin found no failings with the school's procedures, stating the setup was quite exemplary. As days passed, hope faded. On March 19th, 1 week after the accident, Trevin succumbed to her injuries. The post-mortem revealed a hyperextension injury to the neck, an injury that, as pathologist Nat Carey noted, could have killed somebody with an anatomically normal neck. The inquest at Norfolk Coroner's Court confirmed the tragedy as an accident. The jury found that, while the school failed to inform all staff about her condition, the injuries would have been fatal regardless. Assistant Coroner David Osborne acknowledged the profound loss, offering condolences to the family. Head teacher Peter Ware spoke of Trevin's impact on the school community. "She always had a smile on her face and will be remembered with great fondness by staff and students who continue to talk about her with warmth and affection." A memorial garden and cherry tree were established in the school's grounds in her honor. The Joslin family's pain was immense. Funeral services were held at Norwich Cathedral on April 19, 2013. In place of flowers, donations were requested for Addenbrooke's Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, a gesture reflecting their gratitude for the medical team's efforts. Trevin's passing served as a stark reminder of the importance of clear communication regarding student health conditions. While the school had comprehensive safety measures, a simple administrative oversight proved fatal. Today, her memory lives on both through the memorial at Taverham High School and the lasting impact on student safety protocols across the region. These are some of the gymnastics tragedies that changed the world of youth of gymnastics forever. Don't forget to like, comment, and follow for more true stories like these.